Let's talk a little bit about using AI for data enrichment. Here's an example. I have a fictional contacts list here. Suppose that this is my company, my business email list. So I have my contacts here, their names, their titles, companies. But there is one detail, one type of information that I'm missing, which is the company description, right? So I have my list here. Some of my contacts actually have a company description, but not all of them, as you can see here, right? So how can I get AI to fill this out for me? We're gonna talk a little bit about using AI, actually AI automation for data enrichment today. In the example I'm going to teach you, we're gonna be working with Google Sheets and Perplexity, but the exact same situation can be adapted, if that makes sense. So if you're looking to connect other types of apps and use other types of Gen AI tools, such as ChatGPT and so on, it's absolutely fine as well. So let's talk a little bit about the automation that I've created inside make.com. If you are following me here on YouTube, you know that I've been playing around with make.com for a while. If not, this is your chance to come and give me a subscribe, because I'm posting a lot of tutorials on AI marketing automation, tips for marketers and also non-marketers as well, business owners and other types of professionals who work with tech and marketing. And anyway, the automation that I've set up inside make.com is this one here. The automation starts when I have a new row added to my Google spreadsheet, right? So a new row gets added. And then I'm using Perplexity to find the company description, right, that is missing here. And then I have another element that will actually get the description that Perplexity found out about and will add it to my Google Sheet, right? So it's an example of data enrichment. And it's very common for operationals, sales professionals, marketing managers to do this kind of marketing professionals, to have to do this kind of stuff. So how does this work, Talita? What do you mean by filling it out? Well, actually AI will, fill out my spreadsheet. Let me give you an example of how this could work. Let me just run this automation here. The entire thing. I'm gonna run the entire thing and you'll see one of these rows filled out here. So let's just do this together. So I run my automation just now. Let me go back to my Google spreadsheet. And here you go. I have a company description added to my spreadsheet. If you remember, you can go back in the video. These two rows here were empty, right? One of them still is. And so basically AI added this company description to my Google spreadsheet. This is how this automation works. Okay, so now you actually see that the whole thing is working as expected. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna talk about how I created this. This tutorial here might turn out to be a little bit longer because we have a few technical elements here that might require more explanation. But stick with me, it's not as difficult as it looks, and especially if you're coming from a non-technical background, we'll talk about it step by step. So the very first step to do here is to create an account inside make.com. Talita, can I use other integration services for this? Absolutely, right? Make.com is the option I am working with right now, and I find it to be very user-friendly, especially for people that are not coming from a technical background. You can obviously use N8N, you can use Zapier, you can use anything else you want. But there is a link in the description below for you to sign up to make.com if you're interested in following these exact steps I'm going to be showing here. So inside make.com, basically what you're going to do is you're going to create a scenario, okay? So a scenario is basically an automation that you create. The same way inside HubSpot we create workflows, right? Inside make.com we create scenarios. A scenario is an automation. And here is a list of all my automations. They are experiments, okay? Most of these are actually experiments. I've been playing around with make.com for quite a few weeks already, and so some of them are not really working the way I expected, and so I have to go and tweak them. I'm learning a lot myself as well about AI automation, so please be patient with me here. The first step is actually to click to create a scenario inside make.com. And we're gonna talk about this step by step here. As with any other automation, right? We always need to add a trigger. A trigger is that thing that happens that fires off my automation. And so what I'm going to do in this case here is I'm going to add a trigger that starts this automation as soon as a new row gets added to my Google spreadsheet. Okay? Watch new rows is the trigger I'm going to use. Now, the very first step is to actually connect make.com with my Google spreadsheet, which I already did in the past. And so all I have to do is select my connection here. If this is your first time doing this, you have to go ahead and connect these tools in the first place. Everything that we are going to do in this automation is a connection, right? You're basically allowing make.com to pull data from these different apps that you're connecting. And so it's very simple. All you have to do is click on connect. You're going to log in, you're going to authorize, and you're going to make sure that the two tools are talking. This is what a connection is. Cool. Now let me actually go ahead and select the exact spreadsheet that we are going to use for this example here. In my case, is a spreadsheet called fictional list for tutorial, okay? Which is this one here. This is the spreadsheet. And I'm going to make sure that I am in the right sheet. It's in Portuguese. I just noticed that. I'm sorry about that. Folha means sheet in Portuguese. Somehow my Google account was set up for Portuguese just 1 hour ago. I don't know why. I'm Brazilian. I speak Portuguese. Yeah, just some confusion there with languages. But this is the right sheet here. And this spreadsheet does contain headers, so I have to make sure yes is selected here. And let me just tell the tool which headers we have here. We have name, title, company, domain, email, blah, 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 all the way until K. And so let me just make sure that, I have the right headers mapped here, right? And let me just set up for one result at a time. What does this mean? When I turn on this automation, it will run, right? This automation will run for a cycle. Basically, this question here is all about how many results do I want to fetch in one running cycle, one execution cycle. Here's an example. If I set this up to run automatically every 15 minutes, in 15 minutes, it will fetch one result. In 15 minutes, another one, 15 minutes, another one, and another one, and another one. It will always be watching for new rows added to my spreadsheet, okay? Let me just save this as it is. But when do I want to start this? Do I want to look at all my rows? Do I want to look at a specific ID? For example, in this case here, I have rows until Ana Almeida, right? This is the name of the contact. And so I can choose to start there actually. Let me go ahead and, let me just choose it manually. It's probably easier. But I can also use a row ID as well. So we're gonna set it up in a way that it starts here. And we'll click on save. I can also get it to, look at all the rows that I have in my spreadsheet, right? That's if you're doing an import, if you're starting with a blank sheet, something like that, that's the option you would go for. But either way, I already have a few contacts here, and so I'm gonna get it to start here, okay? In this contact here. But save. Now, what do we have to do now? We have to add the actual AI part of the automation. I decided to go ahead with Perplexity for this. Typically, I use ChatGPT. It's my Gen AI tool of choice. I have a subscription and, I purchase tokens once in a while to do stuff, but I find that for this type of automation, Perplexity does a better job. Perplexity is better at doing web search. And this whole thing is about web search, because think about it. I'm providing the tool with information about the company name and the company domain. I'm expecting AI to actually go to their website and check out the company description, right? Find stuff online. And so for this specific example, I find that Perplexity does a much better job than ChatGPT. So let me just add the next action here, which would be create a chat completion. It simply means I'm gonna add a prompt and Perplexity will give me something back, basically, right? Once again, I have to make sure that I have my Perplexity account connected with my make.com account, which I already did, okay? I have to choose a Perplexity model. I'm adding some information on Perplexity models for you below. For now, I'm just gonna go ahead with Sonar. I'm looking for a cost-effective. Oh, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention, right? I did have to buy Perplexity tokens for this, Perplexity credits for this automation, okay? So I bought a package, which I think was like $8, $10, something like that. And it gave me credits for, a lot of cool stuff. So I did have to buy Perplexity credits for this one. Okay, let's start with the important stuff here. The important stuff is definitely my prompts. The first thing that I'm gonna do here is I'm going to add a prompt for the system. And I'm going to copy and paste the prompt that I've prepared, and I'm going to explain this prompt to you. So let me just read the prompt here. You're a data enrichment assistant for a Google Sheet of B2B contacts. Your only job is to return a concise, factual, Wikipedia-style company description. 1 to 2 sentences. Basically, what I have in here, right? 1 to 2 sentences, something quick. Base your answer on information that I'm pulling from whatever is inside the company part, right? Company, okay, so company name. And base your answer on the domain as well. So the same way I wanted to get information from the company name, I also wanted to actually take a look at the website, right? And so stay objective, avoid marketing fluff. If you don't find anything, please add no description found. Why? Because I don't want Perplexity to go crazy and start creating things. I want Perplexity to actually go and find information online, okay? It's a very objective task here. And I'm asking for the result in JSON. Now you're probably thinking, what are you talking about, right? If you're a non-technical person, like myself, actually, my background is digital marketing, and I haven't worked much with JSON in the past. JSON is basically, you were asking for a structured output, right? When you just ask AI to give you something, AI will just write a paragraph, write a description, right? But the goal of this automation is actually to get whatever AI is giving us and map it with our own spreadsheet, right? And actually have, you know, the actual company description here and the domain here and the company here. We don't want it to be like a full blob of text without any type of organization. So JSON is essentially a way of asking AI to organize. It's basically to structure, to organize the result of this prompt. Okay, so that's what we're doing with the output in JSON, in a JSON object. How did I find about this? I started, watching make.com tutorials, and I also used AI itself as well to teach me this. So there's a lot of self-learning in this automation here. And I'm just specifying, do not output anything outside this JSON. We want company with the company name, we want the domain with the string, like the actual, URL, and we want the description with a string of text as well. We don't want anything. We don't want you to go crazy. That's why we need this, okay? So this is the system prompt. Now we're going to add a second prompt, and let me explain why. When I'm using Perplexity specifically, this is the best format for requesting information. To have a system prompt, which basically gives guidelines for what I want, is like briefing a freelancer, for example, and to add a secondary prompt, which is user prompt. The user prompt will be responsible for that specific thing that we're looking at, right? And in my case, the user prompt that I added is this one here, and you'll understand the difference as soon as you see them. So this is the user prompt that I have. This is the spreadsheet, raw data, right? You have company in one line, you have the domain in one line. Your task will be to look up the actual company based on the domain, return a concise, factual company description in JSON format described above, right? So above, I'm describing the JSON format that I want. And then here I'm saying, if by any chance you don't find anything, just give me no description found inside the description field. I know that this might sound a little bit confusing, but basically the system prompt is like briefing a freelancer. The user prompt is more or less like giving the actual task that the freelancer will work with. The system prompt is like, in general, when you work with me, this is what I want you to do, right? Be concise, whatever. And the user prompt is like, for this specific task, this is what you gotta do, right? This is something specific to using Perplexity inside make.com. Sometimes when I use ChatGPT actions in my automations, I don't need two different types of prompts. I just need one. And so this is just how it works, right? Okay, so let's just refresh what we're doing here. We're getting AI to look at the company name and the company domain and return a company description for us. But we want this output, we want this outcome in JSON format because it's more structured. We need this so that we can map this exact result with the columns that we have in our spreadsheet, right? Think about JSON as, JSON is like a spreadsheet for robots, right? It's a spreadsheet for robots. It's basically a way that we could map out our information easy. Otherwise, we end up with a blob of text and we can't really map it accurately, right? Let me give you an analogy here. In marketing, if you are requesting someone to create an email list for you, imagine if they give you all the person's details in the same cell, right? Something like that. Maria is a marketing manager, you know, working at a company called XYZ, right? You're like, I don't want this. I want Maria in one column, marketing manager in another column, XYZ in another column. I want this to be organized. This is what we're doing here. It's the exact same thing. Okay? Great. I hope this is clear now. Let me just save this and let me move forward. Now, we are getting the result from Perplexity AI as a JSON format, right? So in this block here, we'll get a little piece of text neatly organized in JSON format. Let me run this module here and we'll see what it looks like. Suppose I'm testing, okay? Suppose we're talking about a company called Google and the domain is www.google.com. Okay, this is how Perplexity is going to give us the result. Cool. Now let me go to the actual, let me just drag this here because I think my webcam is on top. Let me just go and try and find the result. So this is the result in JSON as we requested. Company is Google, domain is google.com, description. Google is an American multinational technology company specialized in online advertising, blah, 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 blah. Great, this is exactly what I want. But it's still a big chunk of text. That's why I have to add another action to parse this JSON. Parse means to get this block of text and actually organize it in a nice way just so that I can map the exact result that I want here inside my company description. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click to add a data structure. Let me move it here. And I'm going to generate a data structure from a sample. Okay, Talita, what are you doing? I'm simply telling the system to organize that block of text that we were reading just now, that Google block of text, into different columns. This is essentially what I'm doing here. So my sample data, I'm just gonna actually copy the same one. I'm gonna click on generate. And then here, it's almost like it's representing the different columns that I have in here. I have one column for company, one column for domain, another column for the company description. We don't really care about the other ones, right? And so, because this is fictional anyway, and so it's just telling me, okay, at the end, when we get that result in JSON, one thing will be one column, okay? Another thing will be another column, and another thing will be another column. This is what parsing the JSON in this case means. And then I have to explain which type of result are we parsing. We are parsing whatever we got in the Perplexity action, right? Which is the message, which is the outcome. I just have to tell the tool where exactly that outcome that Perplexity gave me is located. This is located here inside choices, message content, okay? Choices, message content. Talita, how do you know about this? Let me run the Perplexity model once again and you'll understand. Let's say that this time we're talking about a company called Miro, right? Miro.com, okay? So the outcome of whatever Perplexity is going to give me is located inside choices, message content. Choices, message, content, okay? This is the result of what Perplexity is giving me. That's why I mapped it like this, choices, message, content. So once again, whenever we are mapping stuff inside automation, basically what we're doing is choosing stuff that we are getting from the previous steps, right? For example, when I was mapping out my prompt here for Perplexity, I was choosing stuff that I got from my Google Sheets step. And so when you're choosing, you're going to get all types of information that are being extracted from the previous steps that you added before in your automation. Okay. Long story short, as soon as a new row gets added to my spreadsheet, get Perplexity to look for a company description based on company and domain name, return the result in JSON so it's a little bit more structured, use a parse JSON action just so that we can organize that result into our Google spreadsheet, and to finalize, update the Google spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and let's, add the very last step here, which is to update a row. Okay, so in this step, what we're going to do is we're going to tell it once again, I'm looking at that spreadsheet called fictional list for tutorial, and I am going to choose the very first shade name, and the row that you are going to be updating is any row that you were working with in the first step. Okay, so in the first step here, let me just save this and explain this better to you. In the first step here, as soon as it finds a new row, that row has an ID, right? It's a specific row that is working with. I'm limiting it to one row at a time. It's going to look at one specific row. And so I want the exact same row to be mapped here. I don't want any random row. And that's why I have to tell it here, hey, update the row that you were looking at in the first step. Once again, this is all stuff that I got from the very first action in my automation. And then basically what I have to do is map out the company description that we're going to get from the Parse JSON action. So here, I'm going to get the description. Oops, actually, let me just scroll down a little bit. The description is coming from this action here, and I'm going to map it like this, and I'm going to click on save. This was a lot, right? There's a lot of moving pieces here. It does make sense when you start testing one module at a time, and then you run the automation once to see the exact result. Just so that this video doesn't turn out to be super long, let's just run it once, okay? But in an ideal world, you would be running one module at a time to test things out and make sure that everything is working, okay? One module at a time by clicking here, run this module only, okay? Run this module only. Once again, what did we do? I will give us a company description in a JSON format. We're using a Parse JSON action to organize that blob of text into actually little data point, little pieces of information that can be mapped into my Google Sheets. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add fictional contact here, and we are going to run the automation, and we are going to see whether, everything is working as expected. Okay, so I added a new contact to my Google spreadsheet. Talita Milan works at a company called LinkedIn. It's not true, okay? This is just an example. The important thing here is I have a company name and I have a company domain, okay? And it's a very famous company, so I'm expecting Perplexity to do a good job here. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to run the automation, and we're going to see whether our automation will actually add a company description here as expected, okay? Are we ready for this? I am. Let's do this. And here you go. LinkedIn is an American business and employment-oriented social networking, blah, 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 blah. Great, I did a good job. It's exactly what I wanted, right? The cool thing about running automations is the fact that you see the exact log, right? So as soon as you run it, you'll see the log, everything that it did. It will show you. It will show you there, hey, I looked at your spreadsheet. Look how cool. I found this new row, and it's a Talita Milan person who works at LinkedIn. That's it. That's your output of this action. And then here is the output of this action. Where is this located again? It's inside choices. Message, right? LinkedIn. Yeah, I did find. LinkedIn is an American business, blah, blah, blah. Cool. So this is the resulting JSON exactly as we wanted. And then here, I can see the same thing. And then here, I can see the same thing. Oh yeah, I did update a row called Talita Milan, right? This is it. So this one was a little bit hard. Also for me, it took me a lot of learning as well. I am definitely not as familiar with working with JSON and stuff like that. But with this, I just wanted to show you that, number one, you can definitely use AI automations for data enrichment without having to pay a lot for expensive tools that do this. Data enrichment tools can be very expensive. Me and my clients know about this. And the other thing I wanted to show you is that this can be adapted to anything else that you're working with. It doesn't have to be company description. It doesn't have to be even being Google spreadsheets in the first place. These steps, right, parsing JSON, asking for results in JSON, are basically necessary for us to map information later on. And I think that's what I wanted to show you today. Sorry about the really long tutorial. Hope this is helpful to you. Please let me know in the comments. Once again, don't forget to subscribe. We have a lot of content on AI automations, make.com, and not everything is super complex, I promise. Some of our automations are really, really straightforward, easy to set up, no JSON involved, I promise. Okay, so yeah, see you next time.